How's it going, everybody? So today I'm here to talk about the latest film in the Conjuring universe, The Nun. Now, I'd say I'm a pretty big fan of the Conjuring franchise as a whole. I mean, it's kind of cool they have this MCU-style kind of universe going on, even though I'm not like a huge fan of prequels, and I really didn't like Annabelle that much. I really loved Annabelle Creation, though, and wasn't really overly excited for The Nun, if I'm being honest. I mean, Valak as a whole character in The Conjuring 2 was okay. It's just like I added and throw in to The Conjuring 2, but I never thought like I really need a whole movie dedicated to that character while I was watching it. But lo and behold, apparently a lot of people were really interested in her character, so we got a spinoff for her, and I think we're getting a spinoff for the Crooked Man as well, but haven't heard too much details about that yet. But anyways, yeah, let's just dive into my thoughts about The Nun. I think The Nun as a whole was kind of a mixed bag, if I'm being honest. There's some aspects I thought were okay, and then there's a lot I didn't like. I did really like the performances, especially from Taissa Farmiga. I think she did a great job as Sister Irene in this, but other than her, I mean, everybody else is kind of just, like, there. I mean, there really isn't, like, a big cast in this film to begin with, but Taissa Farmiga kind of steals it as far as, like, good performances go. But the whole film, I mean, I really felt like this film wasn't necessary. Like, yeah, it's cool that they had the little tie-ins to connect it back to the original, universe, Conjuring 2, but it felt like the least necessary of all the prequels they've made so far, just because the character itself, the nun Valak, isn't interesting. She's really not that interesting, and I've never understood the appeal. I really don't. But yeah, Taissa Farmiga and all them, they're solid enough. None of them are bad in any way, but the script they're given is just pretty lackluster. Especially, like, some of the choices. I mean, it's a standard horror flick, so they gotta do stupid stuff, and some of them have to be dumb and split up and do other stuff, which really bothered me in this case, because most of the film takes place in one setting, and they obviously split off to both get scared in some way, which is so obvious. And not only that, but, like, some of the stuff really doesn't make sense, because there's just certain aspects of this film that kind of get confusing with the whole what can really happen and what's real and what's not. And for the most part, this film just took so long to get going. Like, it's such a slowly paced film. I mean, it starts off with like a couple creepy little bits in the very beginning, and then you don't really get very much of anything for a good at least half hour or so in this hour and a half long film. Like, it almost like put me to sleep at times. Like, I actually was yawning at points thinking like, okay, this is starting to get really boring. Can we get some like horror elements or some interesting action or something? I really was like welcoming anything at that point. It was just such a snooze fest for periods of this film, because I mean, you know what's going to happen, you know the outcome, you know the beginning, middle, and end, because it's a prequel, which is why I don't like prequels that much. But like, not very much goes on, and you're like stuck in this one setting for most of the movie. I mean, 90% of the film is set in this Gothic style abbey. I think it's like a castle, but I think it's called like an abbey. I'm not really up to date with my Catholic stuff. But yeah, I mean, most of the film's stuck in this one area. I mean, the atmosphere, I'll give it that. The atmosphere, they did a great job with creating this creepy atmosphere for this place that we're stuck in for the whole film for the most part. But they don't really do very much of it. It's the same standard stuff you see in many horror films, just long corridors, something comes out of the corridor, something pops up. Creepy, usual stuff like that. It's like an old dark house kind of film. So that's nothing that I haven't seen before. The jump scares are as usual. The characters do dumb stuff. There's actually one part in particular. I'm not going to go into too many spoilers. I mean, actually, this isn't a spoiler at all. But my favorite, like, dumb thing that the character's done is there's one part where this guy's in a coffin. Like, he ends up in a coffin, and he gets broken out of the coffin. And he looks down after he gets out of the coffin and sees that there's books in this coffin with this skeleton. And he just gets the idea, maybe these books will help us figure out what's going on with Valak, the demon. Like, what? Like, you just think these books just magically, conveniently will help you? Like, you have no idea that those books even have anything to do with what's wrong in this place. But, I don't know, I guess there's a lot of conveniences in this film I probably should have touched on, but yeah, there's a lot of really obvious conveniences, and it's very predictable. It's a very standard horror film. And if you were expecting a lot more of the actual nun in her own film, I think you're going to be sadly disappointed. I mean, she's in it like an okay amount, but I felt like she wasn't really in it that much more than she was in The Conjuring 2, which was like a small role for her. And you think she would be in it like way, way, way more in this film, since it's her own film. But not really. She just pops up from here and there from time to time. Mostly, you don't even get a good look at her face till like the final act of the film, which I thought was kind of disappointing. Like, you think, why would you keep her in the shadows too much? Like, we know what she looks like and what she can do, because we've seen The Conjuring too. But yeah, that was kind of disappointing. But yeah, unfortunately, this film overall was kind of just like a mixed bag for me. There's some elements I did like, the creepy atmosphere and the performances were fine. But there's just so many other cons that outweigh it that I can't really recommend it to people. I mean, see it eventually, especially if you're a fan of The Conjuring. I mean, if you're a fan of The Conjuring, you're probably going to see this movie anyways. But it's definitely not the strongest entry in the series. It's not the weakest, but it's not the strongest. I'd say it's kind of in the middle-ish, maybe. I mean, there's 5 of them now, so maybe like on the lower spectrum, not in the middle. But yeah, I mean, I can't really recommend it. I mean, maybe if you have a day free, definitely don't rush out and go see it. But otherwise, definitely wait till this comes out on like on demand, streaming, or whatever of those services. But those are just my thoughts on The Nun. Leave in the comments section down below what you thought of The Nun, or if you plan on seeing it or don't plan on seeing it. Let me know. Also, let me know what your favorite film in the Conjuring franchise is. Don't forget to leave a like, hit that subscribe button, keep up to date with all my movie reviews, trailer reactions, unboxings, and more. But until next time, I'll see you guys later.